if we could, please. Supervisor Dunn, would you like to lead us in the invocation?
Sure. Will you bow your head, please? Lord, we just ask that you give us wisdom. We're a public body. We're citizens of a great republic. You've given us a lot. We just ask that you give us wisdom as we discuss the best way to go forward in Frederick County. That those that speak to us speak with open hearts and wisdom, that we hear their words with wisdom, and we just use your guidance on how we go forward. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Vice Chairman Lofton, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Stand and face the flag for our pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Adoption of the agenda. Are there any proposed changes?
We have none, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Entertain a motion.
So moved.
All right. Motion is second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Then is adopted. Consent agenda, are there any proposed changes?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman.
All right, so the consent agenda is before you. It's the tabs A, B, C, D, E, and F. How would the board like to handle those?
Mr. Chairman, I would move to adopt the consent agenda.
Wish to adopt, is there a second?
Second.
And a second, is there any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Consent agenda is adopted. This is a portion of the meeting for citizens, set aside for citizen comments. Agenda items only that are not subject to public hearing. Did anyone sign up?
You have one person signed up, Joan Thorpe.
I'm sorry, how many?
One,
One. And the name was?
Joan Thorpe.
Ms. Thorpe? We have a magisterial district, and limit your comments to 3 minutes, please.
My name is Joan Thorpe. I'm in the Back Creek District. I've been here since 1976 in the county. My daughter attends Ayler Middle School. She's been there for all 3 years. In 6th grade, about midway through the year, she started developing headaches. At the time, I thought she was quite young to be having frequent headaches. Her doctor never found a reason for them. In 7th grade, she had headaches and nausea. Once again, no diagnosis from the doctor. Now she's in 8th grade. She has headaches, nausea, dizziness, and difficulty sleeping. Her symptoms subside after a month away from Ayler. They start up again after a month being back at Ayler. It didn't occur to me that it was something in the school until this year. Before the CO2 levels were discovered, I met with Mr. Rudy, the head of attendance, and my daughter's guidance counselor. I told them there was something at Ayler making her sick. At that point, the school had been tested for asbestos and mold. They assured me that that wasn't the case. So after many doctor visits, extensive blood work, an MRI of her head, and a trip to an allergist, she remains undiagnosed as far as the doctors are concerned. There's no test to prove that my daughter suffers from exposure to high levels of CO2. You'd have to be exposed to a much higher level for it to show up in your blood. What I do know is that her symptoms are exactly that, and she improves after weeks away from Ayler. Parents and teachers have complained about the poor air quality in Ayler for years. Now we know what's causing it. Ayler is a sick building, and it needs to be replaced. My daughter's missed over 30 days of school this year. The school's doing all it can with opening doors, turning on fans, etc., but that's not enough. The CO2 level of 1,300 ppms that they're aiming for isn't even low enough to be acceptable. 1,000 ppms is what is acceptable for indoor air quality. I'm not applying for a variance. I don't believe it's up to me to uproot my daughter and figure out how to get her to and from another school. I believe it's the county's responsibility, among other things, to provide healthy air in the school. If my daughter was a 6th grader or a rising 6th grader, I'd be applying for a variance or moving. But she and I will muddle through the rest of the year. I'm here to let you know what we've been through so you can understand how important it is to replace Ayler. I also want to add, there's no tests on what long-term effects on these children exposed to CO2, high levels of CO2, because of course no one's going to put their child through that. There's no tests. It affects children much quicker than it does adults. So the staff and the teachers, there's a few that have complained, but they're not going to complain because of their jobs. And they're also not being as affected as the children are. It's difficult as a parent to send my daughter to school every day knowing it's a sick building. So I want you to understand how important it is to replace Ayler. Thank you.
Thank you. We certainly share your concern. All right. Board of Supervisors comments, are there any? All right, hearing none, we'll move forward to committee reports or appointments. For Fairfax Community College.
I'm getting there, sir.
Okay,
I would like to nominate Jeff Bope to serve on the Lord Fairfax Community College Board.
you've heard the nominations, or second?
Second.
Second, any discussion? All those in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed, no. Thank you. Hanley Regional Library Board, we are still looking for someone.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
we did receive an application yesterday from the director of the library, so that will be coming to the board at your next meeting for action.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Good news. Social Services Board, we,
I expect, Mr. Chairman,
yes, sir.
I expect to have one next meeting.
All right. Board of Building Appeals, I don't know that we have anyone there. We'll need to work on that one. Nothing else for February, but Conservation Easement Authority for March. Mr. Green is eligible for reappointment and has advised staff that he's willing. How would the board like to handle that one?
Mr. Chairman, since Mr. Green is willing, I would make a motion to nominate or appoint Mr. Brian J. Green to the Conservation Easement Authority.
Okay.
I would second that, Mr. Chairman.
Second, is there any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. All right, Mr. Green is reappointed. I think that brought us to the end of the list.
Mr. Chairman, I believe you had a couple of your committee assignments that you were planning
I was
to.
trying to get to them. So this is just sharing so that the board and our community will know that I've appointed Ed Strausnider. He's a professional engineer to the Public Works as a citizen member, Public Works Committee. And he'll also fill the role of our liaison to the Frederick County Public Schools Buildings and Grounds Committee. Also, the citizen member vacancy at the Transportation Committee, I've appointed Gary R. Oates to fill that role, and I'm going to work on a board representative. So it's just for information. All right, that brings us to the GFOA award. So do you want to join me? So this is one of these real wonderful stories that occur in our community on a regular basis. We try to bring attention to them. If you all would come forward. Thank you. So the Government Finance Officers Association of the United States and Canada has awarded Frederick County, Virginia, the GFOA's Distinguished Budget Presentation Award for its budget. This award represents a significant achievement by Frederick County and reflects the organization's commitment to the highest principles of governmental budgeting. The Government Finance Officers Association established the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award program in 1984 to encourage and assist state and local governments to prepare budgets documents of the highest quality that reflect best practices on budgeting and to recognize individual governments that succeed in achieving that goal. Documents submitted are reviewed by GFOA professionals and by outside reviewers. Each reviewer rates the budget document in regard to 27 specific categories. In order to achieve the award, the document must be rated proficient or outstanding. States, localities, school districts, and community colleges all participate in the Budget Awards program. Frederick County has been a recipient of this award for 32 consecutive years. It's my pleasure to recognize Cheryl Schiffler, Finance Director, and Jennifer Place, Budget Analyst, who have been responsible for preparing and submitting the county's budget. Under their leadership, the county has received this award for the past 27 years. Please join me in congratulating them and thanking them for a job well done. All right, Supervisor Trout?
Do we have one agenda item before then?
A request for the commissioner, I'm sorry, I wrote your name over top of that one.
Mr. Chairman, this is a request for a refund that comes from Integrity Staffing Solutions, Inc., in the amount of $5,228.76. It relates to an overestimation of taxes in connection with applications for staffing at one of their facilities. The request has been reviewed by the county attorney and recommended for approval.
All right, how would the board like to handle this one?
Mr. Chairman, I would move that for a motion to approve the refund of $5,228.76 to Integrity Staffing and also the corresponding supplemental appropriation.
Thank you, you've heard the motion, is there a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
In the second, Supervisor McCarthy?
Aye.
Supervisor Slaughter?
Aye.
Supervisor Wells?
Aye.
Vice Chairman Lofton?
Aye.
Supervisor Dunn?
Aye.
Supervisor Trout?
Aye.
Chair votes aye and the motion carries. All right, that'll bring us to a discussion. Supervisor Trout?
I want to disclose for the record, relative to this item and pursuant to the State and Local Government Conflict of Interest Acts, that I am employed by Frederick County Public Schools as a teacher, and therefore I'm a member of the group who may be affected by this item. But I am able to participate in the transaction fairly, objectively, and in the public interest.
Thank you. So this is a discussion of supplemental appropriation, a request for $52 million to the fiscal year 2018 construction fund for the acquisition of land and construction of a new Ayler Middle School. Discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to have a discussion in a workshop where we could just walk through this discussion in some depth, as opposed to just doing it here. It gives everybody a chance to, we got this a couple of days ago, so I'd just like to have a budget workshop to walk through this in a little bit less formal manner than we are here right now.
Okay. Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir. Supervisor McCarthy.
I believe at our last Finance Committee meeting that Superintendent Savine mentioned that he would be willing to meet with us and go over those numbers in more detail once he had a chance to prepare. I believe Supervisor Dunn had asked him if we could get into discussion of that. So I would support Mr. Dunn's request that we do this in a workshop format.
Okay. Anyone else?
I would move along with the same as Mr. Dunn, Mr. McCarthy.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay. Guess, Mr. Tierney, we're looking for scheduling of a work session.
I'll contact the superintendent and see if we can get that set up.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right.
Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, I do have a question. With this resolution, are we saying that we are definitely going to request a $52 million, or is that the maximum amount we're going to request under this?
That's the resolution.
Okay.
That can be amended.
What?
Can that be amended?
That's the resolution from the school board.
Right.
We can't amend their resolution. You are responsible to respond to it.
Okay.
Okay. Does that help?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it does.
All right. Any other comments here? We'll do our best to schedule that as soon as possible, and we'll move on. Committee business, Finance Committee.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. The Finance Committee met on Wednesday, February 21st. Items number 1, 2, and 3 were considered under consent agenda, and I would so move.
Heard the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
The second. Supervisor Trout?
Aye.
Supervisor Dunn?
Aye.
Vice Chairman Lofton?
Aye.
Supervisor Wells?
Aye.
Supervisor Slaughter?
Aye.
Supervisor McCarthy?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, and the motion carries.
Item number 4, the VJCCCA requested a general fund budget transfer in the amount of $25,000 from salaries to client services, no local funds required. This was a grant that was provided, and they are asking to transfer from one line item to another, and I would so move.
Heard the motion. Is there a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Second, is there any discussion? Supervisor McCarthy?
Aye.
Supervisor Slaughter?
Aye.
Supervisor Wells?
Aye.
Vice Chairman Lofton?
Aye.
Supervisor Dunn?
Aye.
Supervisor Trout?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, and the motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, brings us to a public hearing, conditional use permit 0118. Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This is a conditional use permit before you for a landscape contracting business located at 639 Reliance Road. It's in the Opeka Magisterial District. The zoning of the property in question is RA rural areas. It is surrounded by RA rural areas properties, and their land uses are residential. If I could turn your attention to the map on your left, highlighted is the property for this conditional use permit. It's obviously highlighted in black. This proposed conditional use permit is for the making and selling of mulch on site to the public. A landscape contracting business isn't allowed use within the RA zoning district with an approved conditional use permit. This proposed use will take place on a 73-acre tract of land that is located in that RA zoning district. This proposed business will use a tile grinder to make, store, and sell mulch to the public. It will have an hours of operation, and that's just for the tile grinding, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Based on the description of the use provided by the applicant, the hours of operation for this proposed business will be from Monday through Saturday from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. 2 storage bays will be used to store the mulch, and there will be no more than 4 employees on site with approval by the Winchester Frederick County Health Department approval. And also the site will have no more than 4 vehicles on the premises for this business. The business office will be, of this proposed use will be within an accessory structure with customer and employee parking. There'll be 1 monument-type sign, no higher than 5 foot in height and no more than 50 square feet at the entrance facing Route 627, which is Reliance Road. The ultimate configuration of the site, including the customer employee parking, storage bays, business sign, will be determined at the site of the submission of an illustrative sketch plan. That sketch plan is, members of the board will be aware of that usually when we have smaller businesses, we don't require an engineered site plan. It's a sketch plan that will show where all our storage is and the entrances and the uses are going to take place on the property. This is a sketch that was in that the applicant submitted of the property that was in your iPad, and it just kind of shows what we're going to look at. Again, this was a sketch that the applicant provided. Again, we will be looking at a sketch plan that will determine where our storage is and traffic flow and parking. Should the Board of Supervisors find this use to be appropriate, the Planning Commission at their February 7th meeting recommend the following conditions be assigned to this conditional use permit. Number 1, all review agency comments shall be complied with at all times. Number 2, an illustrative sketch plan shall be submitted to and approved by Frederick County with all improvements completed prior to establishment of this use. Number 3, 1, non-illuminated freestanding monument sign shall be allowed with this conditional use permit and no more than 5 feet in height and no more than 50 square feet in area. Number 4, the hours of operation for the business should be Monday through Saturday from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. The top grinding, number 5, the top grinding operation to make the mulch will be Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Number 6, a commercial entrance must be constructed prior to the operation. And number 7, the site shall have no more than 4 employees with Health Department approval. And number 8, any expansion or change use require new conditional use permit. Mr. Chairman, conditions 5 and 6 were added at the Planning Commission at their February 7th meeting. With that, I'll answer any questions you or any board members may have on this conditional use permit. For the record, the applicant is also here to answer any questions that you may have, Mr. Chairman, or any board members may have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Questions for Mr. Chairman? Anyone? All right, is there anything the applicant would like to add? All right, sir. So this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to comment concerning this proposed conditional use permit? Yes, sir.
My name's Robbie Molden. I live at 230 Dependence Lane in the Opequon Magisterial District. I'm also a planning commissioner for Frederick County. My residence is located on Reliance Road, about 2/10 of a mile from Mr. Henry's property. I have lived there for 23 years. Over the years, I've watched the truck traffic increase on Reliance Road, so much so that Frederick County and Warren County are imposing a truck ban on Reliance Road. I think that Mr. Henry's business would increase truck traffic significantly, which I think we were trying to decrease truck traffic was what we were after. Mr. Henry's landscape business is going to have the tub grinder, and trucks will be bringing brush, mulch, stumps, logs, and dumping them there at the premises. There also will need to be additional equipment to get the tub grinder filled, which I would imagine would be a loader or a track hoe there at the property to be able to load that. They all produce noise and dust for the neighboring properties, which I think is definitely devaluing the properties next door. Mr. Pike has a large tract of land. We also have a horse training facility within very close vicinity of this tub grinder, which I think would directly affect them. When I think of a landscaping business, I think of flowers, trees, mulch by the scoop and by the bag. This is a business going to be manufacturing mulch and should be in a manufacturing business area. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir. Would anyone else like to comment? Yes, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen of the board, thank you for the opportunity to speak. I wasn't planning on speaking on this topic tonight, however, it flows nicely with some other comments I'm going to make later. My taxes have went up almost 30% over the last 3 years. I feel an exorbitant amount in taxes. I'm sure Mr. Henry feels the same way. He pays a pretty high price to own 73 acres of land. I think Mr. Henry has agreed to go by some rules that are reasonable. And I think any person who looks at these rules would say those are pretty reasonable. He's trying to respect his neighbors. That tub grinder's not going at 9 o'clock at night. That tub grinder's going from business hours, 9 to 5. The man probably paid a pretty decent, reasonable price for that piece of property, and he's tried to follow the rules. I believe that you as a board should consider that fact, that he is a taxpayer. He's worked hard to get to where he is in life, and he wants to give back to the community by grinding up tree stumps and things that are essentially waste. He's actually helping the environment by making something that is trash useful again. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Hi, my name is Nadine Helfer. I have the horse farm that Robbie Molden was referring to on Reliance Road. I'm one property over from where they're trying to do that. And after looking this up and researching it and looking into if he wanted 50 trucks a day, that would be a truck going by every 14 minutes if he was able to do it for 12 hours a day. If he wants 100 trucks or 50 trucks come in and go back out, it would be a truck every 7 minutes. Most everyone on that road's house is within 50 feet of the road. So it'll ruin their life. The trucks are a problem. The exposure to fungi, carcinogens from the wood dust. There's a drop in air quality. 8 hours of operation would be a truck every 3.8 minutes. So if the trucks were limited to 5 to, it doesn't matter really. Either way, the trucks are going to be constantly going down the road. And most people on that road have farms. They pay taxes. He almost gets to double dip on the tax situation by being agricultural with his landscaping business, getting his taxes reduced, and then going through this. There are other ways to make money on farms. Howard County has tried to shut it down, and they're still shutting it down. They have articles published by Sierra Club, the EPA. And then there's a letter about fires. There's a huge increase in fires over the past 5 years on the mulch piles. The size of the mulch piles need to be limited. And the water needs to be like readily available in a place that's like an industrial park or someplace where the people are trained in putting out mulch fires, which can burn indefinitely. So those are my major concerns with the whole thing.
Thank you. Anyone else like to comment? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Tamala Brzezinski, and I'm here representing my father, Charles Madigan. His property is directly across from where this proposed mulch grinding facility would be placed. I certainly sympathize with Mr. Henry having to pay his taxes for these few years, but my father has lived there for 58 years and has paid tons of taxes on his property as well. I agree with the young lady who said that the dust and debris and the smoke and the noise, it does not matter what time they start or what time they end. That is going to have an impact on our community, as small as it might be. My concern, too, would be if it's a mulch manufacturing facility, just go to Lowe's. How many different types of mulches are there? If it's a manufacturing, then there's going to be dyes and different things like, because there's red mulch, there's black mulch, there's all different types of mulch that people manufacture. How is that going to affect the water that is in our area and for the people who have livestock or horses? The noise factor, my father is 83 years old, and he does not need to be woken up even at 9 o'clock in the morning with a grinding tub. I do think that it would be, I think it would be advantageous for Mr. Henry to perhaps seek out some other place, like Mr. Molden had suggested, in a more industrial type environment, and that would probably satisfy what our request is. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to comment? Yes, sir.
My name is Charles Madigan. I live across the road from Mr. Henry's. They've been good neighbors, but, you know, this proposed facility is just not the right place for it. Worry about air quality, water quality, truck traffic, and not only that, I mean, it's a lot of traffic already on that road, and you know about the proposed closure for trucks to begin with, so where would that force it if Warren County went their way and Frederick County didn't? It would all have to come from one place, and then you'd be looking at probably traffic lights and who knows, you know, what else it would be involved in it. But, you know, I don't oppose anybody making a living. I understand what he's about, but it's not the right place for it. It should be in an industrial setting, you know, because the ramifications is that, you know, you have a whole community that's going to suffer, and not only that, probably the region, because, you know, who knows what will happen with that amount of, you know, traffic on that road. It's not a business area, you know, that's across the road for now, because the roads can't handle it. You know, Warren County, they never did improve their road. That's why they want to stop it, because it's been all kinds of concrete trucks. You see tractors and trailers come back, because what it is they try to avoid, you know, the scales. But if this gets passed and that business gets in, well, they'll have to go one way, and that'll be from Frederick County if Warren County passes theirs. So it would be a hindrance, and you know, I wish him luck on getting it somewhere else, but this is not the place for it.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else like to comment? Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is John Pike. I live next door to Nadine. part of the time down there. So anyway, I'm just echoing what Mr. Hall said about, how much would they muffle the noise and all that? And that's the big question. So, and also with truck traffic or anything that we've had that place for almost 57 years. So we just don't want to go from rural to industrial that much. So I just want to say, how much would this interfere with truck traffic maybe, but also how much do they muffle the noise and any other thing that would alter the environment? Thank you. Or alter our surroundings, I meant to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else like to comment? Yes, sir?
Along with what everybody else said, I live on Reliance Road.
If you would, sir, the folks watching can't hear your comment unless you're in front of the microphone.
Along with what everybody else has said, with the increased truck traffic and stuff, some of my questions is with that amount of traffic on that road, if trucks are coming in, at 4 and 5 minutes apiece, are they going to have time to get unloaded without the traffic actually backing up in the road? That would be, some questions, concerns. The increased fire risk, things of that nature. If you read the articles, it does suggest that goes in an industrial setting where they have the capacity to fight the fires. And then, like I say, I agree with what everybody else said. That's pretty much about it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to comment? Anyone? Anyone at all? All right, seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing portion. Mr. Henry, would you like to address any of the comments you've heard?
Yes, sir. Number one, the biggest thing, one of the bigger complaints I've heard is about truck traffic, 50 trucks a day. We didn't request for 50 trucks a day. What that is VDOT said that if I had over 50 trucks a day, I had to put in commercial entrance. I decided to do that in the beginning, not because we're going to have 50 trucks a day. We're thinking 5, 10 vehicles at the most is what we're thinking. I don't know for sure, but the 50 vehicles, that's not what we think we're gonna do. The reason we're staying up so late is for homeowners, stuff like that. They get in late from work, so they have a place to bring it, not so we grind it for noise. As far as the mulch piles, they're not gonna be big, huge mulch piles. 15 rule of thumb, you don't put mulch pile over 15 foot tall, so they won't be any higher than that. We have 2 large ponds on the property, right in between where we will have this stuff. It's 2-acre ponds. So we do have a water supply there if something would happen, but we don't anticipate anything like that happen. I live right here where we're at. So I want the place to be peaceful. I want a nice community. I want everything. I don't want to change that at all because this is my property and I live on this residence. It's not a property that I have and I go home miles away every night. I'm here. So I'm not trying to change the neighborhood at all. We're getting ready to clear 11 acres, and we have cleared property there before. And when we did, we burnt it. And it was a mess, a disaster. We had, rutted up the fields, the smoke for days when it rained. Now we're trying to go a different way about that, and we're trying to help offset some of the costs of that. And that's all I have, nothing further.
All right, sir, if you would. Anyone have a question for Mr. Henry?
I do, Mr. Chairman.
Hi,
Mr. Henry, thanks for being here. One of the citizens made a comment about dyes. Do you anticipate using any kind of dye?
I don't even know, that's nothing I've even discussed. I don't even know anything about the dye, so no, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Supervisor Dunn.
Mr. Henry, so your anticipation is just 5 to 10 trucks per
Well,
day?
I don't know, but I can tell you the 50 came from VDOT. They said if I have over 50, I need to put in a commercial entrance. That's where that came from. It didn't come, I didn't say I was going to have 50, and I definitely do not anticipate having anywhere near 50 vehicles.
Are you looking to do this to clear your land and then stop? Are you looking to do this and then be an outlet for other people that do the same?
Yes, sir. I'm looking to do this as to clear the land, number one, and to offset the cost to let other people bring stuff in, because there's not a lot of places to get rid of stuff like that. People buried in their yards, they do, or property, whatever. It's
Third question, Mr. Chairman.
okay.
Yes.
Comments on noise and dust. On the comments on noise and dust, I assume you're doing it outside. Can it be put into some type of a
Yes.
barn or something like that that would minimize the
Well,
noise?
here's
and
the
minimize
thing. Here's the thing. I've been actually working on this property with the loaders and stuff for almost 13 years. The former owners went out, they had basically buried a junkyard. So we've been digging up parts, we've been hauling off, we've been cleaning, we've been doing, it's the same equipment, except for the tub ground we've been on for 13 years. But talking about noise, the Madigans, of course, they cut hay on my property, and they run at times till 9, 10 o'clock at night, which I have no problem with. That's fine. We're not planning on any more noise than what that makes. And we're going to stop, the noise will be 9 to 5 with the tub grounder. That'll be it. The later hours are for people to bring in and be able to drop off, that have regular jobs during the day.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Other questions, Mr. Henry? Anyone?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes. Supervisor Slaughter.
when you're speaking about the truck traffic on the roads, are you talking about tractor-trailer trucks, or what size trucks are you speaking of?
Well, we never even spoke about the truck traffic. The VDOT just allowed us, they said if we have over 50 trucks, 50 commercial vehicles is what they said. There's no way, I'll have a full-time job. We can't have 50 commercial vehicles out there a day anyway, number one. But number two, eventually we want to get to where contractors can come in there and stuff like that, and probably dump trucks or send out to get. But yes, as far as the amount, no, the 50 came from, like I said, the
But you're
commercial
talking-
entrance. Yes, ma'am.
You're talking larger trucks?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Other questions of Mr. Henry? Anyone? Thank you, sir.
Thank you all.
All right, I think this is OPEC.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
can I ask a staff a question?
Sure. Sure, we can bring Mr. Chairman, if you would, please, sir.
Mr. Chairman, on the issue on trucks and the roads, I'm not familiar with this road, so the question is, what restrictions are either anticipated or what restrictions are there on this road traffic now? Or are they going to stop road truck traffic, completely, or X trucks an hour, or X trucks a day?
Currently, my understanding is, some of the folks who are against this have brought up, there's a non-through truck traffic unlimited, working through both counties from my understanding. As you're well aware of, as many truck or no-through truck restrictions we have here in Frederick County, local deliveries are not affected by that. So
So therefore, the truck traffic issue is not an issue in the sense of there's no count or et cetera?
That is correct. The through truck traffic would be, as I think one of the, Mr. Madigan brought up, where it would come from 522 to get to 81. That's your through truck. But this is a destination stop to this Mr. Henry's, so it's not affected by
The
that.
other question, Mr. Chairman, the other question is, I don't know this road, so is this a road that can handle that type of traffic, or is it a narrow road? I mean,
It's a basic, I'm not going to call it a country road, but it's a basic road that we would have, a two-lane highway that we would have in Frederick County.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions of Mr. Chairman?
I
Yes,
do, Mr.
Supervisor Slaughter.
In our board packet, the use for the property would allow this type of operation, is that correct?
Through the conditional use permit, that is correct.
And typically, would this type of use be in an industrial area?
It could be, yes, ma'am, it could be. Yes, it could. Our M1 zoning district does allow it. However, I'll just paraphrase that also, that we have landscaping contracting businesses in Frederick County in our rural area zoning districts. Some of them are, as some of the opposition was talking about, flower beds, things of that nature, your meadow farms, your things like that. We also have the contracting businesses where they do make mulch. They do bring mulch in also. And we've had them come in front of this board a couple of times. So yes, there's probably 3 or 4 that's in Frederick County that's in our RA zoning district.
Thank you, sir.
Other questions of Mr. Chairman? Anyone? Thank you, sir. Peckin District.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I have driven out by there. I haven't met with Mr. Henry, but I have gone out by there. I'm certainly familiar with Reliance Road and the problems we've been having, and the state's been talking about slowing the truck traffic down or even doing away with tractor-trailer traffic on that road. One of my concerns as board member is the turning of some of the land into uses such as this that I just don't think are appropriate for that particular area. And I like to see businesses start. I'm a businessman myself, but I just feel strongly that this is not the place for this type of a business. And so I would move that conditional use permit number 01-18 be denied.
I've heard the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second. Discussion. Supervisor Lofton.
Mr. Chairman, I understand the neighbor's comments. It's always nice when you get a piece of property and you're settled into that property, and it's different when there's change and proposed change. But looking at the schematics here and looking at a map of that area, 73 acres for this type of operation, I have a hard time not believing that 73 acres, you could put houses on it probably.
You could.
But I'm not so sure that this type of operation, which it seems to me to have a minimal impact at this point on the roadway and the surrounding community. And as Mr. Henry has said, he's been operating equipment there for several years, which probably produces as much noise as that tub grinder. Although I'm familiar with tub grinders, so know how much noise they generate. So I have a hard time not believing this might not be. I would disagree that this might be the place on 73 acres that you could run an operation like that.
Supervisor Trout.
I agree with Mr. Lofton.
Any other comments, discussion, further? Anyone? Motion and a second to deny. Supervisor McCarthy?
Aye.
Supervisor Slaughter?
Aye.
Supervisor Wells?
Aye.
Supervisor Lofton?
No.
Yeah, it's aye to deny, no to allow. Got it. Just want to make sure. Supervisor Dunn?
Nay.
Supervisor Trial?
Nay.
Now, you all realize that you just voted to permit it. Got it? Okay. Chair votes aye and motion carries. So the CUP is denied. That would bring us to Board of Supervisors comments. Supervisor Dunn.
Mr. Chairman, I sent everybody on the board a proposal to make an amendment to the comprehensive policy plan regarding a multifamily building behind St. Paul's on the Hill on Cincinnati Road. It would allow them to begin the process. It still has to go through the normal review process with the Planning Commission and coming back to the board, public hearings in both bodies as well. So I would make a motion that we begin the process now, February 28th, on their behalf so that they can continue. The reasons for the motion is that they have some financing that would not be available if it goes through the normal process. So this speeding up the process, yea or nay, helps them. So therefore, I make a motion to amend this process.
So we have a motion to send a question to consideration for amendment of the comp plan. Is there a second?
Second.
And second. Discussion. Anyone?
May I ask quickly of staff what the process of this would be?
Same as it always is. It's our normal June process. But we wrote into the ordinance the opportunity for any board member to send directly to consideration.
Okay. We have a public hearing on this? Is that in the process?
Whatever happens, there would be at the end.
Okay.
Mr.
It's a comp plan amendment at the end.
Mr. Lofton, the memo that I sent you earlier laid out the schedule, and by laying that schedule out, it accelerates the process. That was the purpose for it. We have two people here that can speak to that directly if you want to.
No, I support it. I just wanted to make sure I was sure of the process.
Yeah, but you will have a public, goes through planning, has public hearing, comes back to the board, public hearing, so you have input all the way along the way. I'm just beginning the starting point sooner than it would be if it were normal. That's my request.
Good. Thank you.
Further discussion? We ready to vote? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, board members.
Board of Supervisors comments, are there any? All right. Vice Chairman?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir?
You skipped the citizen comment
Oh,
portion.
I'm sorry. How did I do that? All right, so this is a portion of the meeting where we welcome citizens to comment on any issue they might like to bring to the attention of the board. Thank you, sir. Name and magisterial district, and limit your comments to 3 minutes, please, sir.
Thank you, sir. Sean Graber, Back Creek District. I'd like to start by saying Supervisor Lofton, Dunn, and Trout, thank you so much for standing up for property rights in that vote earlier. I really, truly appreciate it. I come before you this evening to speak about taxes, and I said I was going to earlier. You know, I went through and looked at my taxes over the last 3 years, and especially this last year when it was supposed to be revenue neutral when you reassessed and lowered the tax rate. You know, my taxes went up 14.5% that year when it was supposed to be revenue neutral. Over the last 3 years, my taxes have went up 28.47%, and I've got my numbers here exactly what I paid if any of you would like to follow up after the meeting this evening. The schools have proposed over $200 million in additional spending over the next several years if they get their 5-year plan. Now, I don't know if you've thought about it a lot, but these are supposed to be the wizards of our teaching. We're paying in the top 10% in the state for our schools in this locality per student, but our schools are squarely in the middle, 68 to 72%, depending on which, 68 to 72 out of 130 couple, depending on what site you look at. I want you to stop and really think about what we're doing. My concern is if we'd have built the glass high school like what was proposed, the $92 million high school, and put the glass in it that was proposed. I looked at the proposal that some of you guys had an opportunity to look at. I've printed it out. I want you to think about what might have happened if 2 weeks ago when we had that mass shooting, what happens to glass? Unless it was bulletproof glass that you put in that high school, concrete and things are going to stop that a lot quicker than a piece of glass will. I worry that we are spending millions on architectural design and millions on simply looks instead of having something that is practical for schools. While I build on that just a little bit, there have been 3 walkouts from what I can see from the newspapers and what I read. I'm not a part of the school system, but 3 walkouts in the school system in the last 2 weeks since the shooting. Now, I know I'm an old fuddy-duddy. I've been out of school about 20 years, but if I had done that when I was in school, I would have been sent to detention. It makes me wonder if we're teaching in school or if it's a political activist session while we're in school. I want our students to be taught well, and I am paying a dear price for them to be taught well. Please consider that in the funding for the schools for the coming year, and I beg you, don't give them another dime until we start to see some results. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Ladies and gentlemen, hello, of the board. My name is Derek Krinker, and I am from the Apacon District. Mr. Wells, how are you? When deciding on what I wanted to talk about this evening, I had a lot of different ideas come to mind. The first thing that came to mind was thanking Mr. Dunn for his recent town hall meeting. I found that to be enlightening, and I found a great opportunity to speak with you directly. In fact, it led to follow-up conversations with us on the phone, and I appreciate sharing ideas. I also thought about thanking the board for entertaining my idea of the tax credit for the residents of Frederick County. I do hope you took time to review that plan, and I do believe it's viable when it comes to protecting our retired citizens from tax increases. I also thought about talking about Frederick County compared to Fauquier County, a county that we are very closely benchmarked with when it comes to tax rate or population, school size, number of students. According to the Virginia Employment Commission and U.S. Census Bureau, Fauquier expects to grow by about 12.5% in the next 25 years. Frederick County, on the other hand, is expected to grow by 23% in that same time period. Faukier's tax rate is 97.5 cents for every $1,000. Frederick County's tax rate is 60 cents. What Fauquier understands is that growth does not lower taxes. In fact, it does the opposite. According to the Piedmont Environmental Council, if a locality grows quickly over a large geographic area, the cost of providing basic services such as schools, public safety, trash collection, landfills can quickly exceed the resources of the locality, often requiring increases in taxes and government debt. Localities need to carefully plan for growth to ensure that public infrastructure and services can be provided in a cost-effective manner. But to be honest with you, the real reason I'm here tonight is to speak from the perspective of a parent. I live in the Woodside Estates subdivision. The students in my subdivision attend Middletown, Ayler Middle School, and Shenandoah High School. It's a great neighborhood. It's filled with great people and great kids. My second grade daughter has friends in that neighborhood that range in ages from 5 through 11. And they're all good kids. The other day, we had off for President's Day. And all the kids were over my house playing Nerf guns. And during a break, one of the new boys that was over there, I decided to start talking to him because I'd never met him before. He was a 5th grader at Middletown Elementary School. And so, in order to get to know him, we started making small talk. Talked about Nerf guns, talked about hockey, and started talking about school. And I asked him, I said, "You excited to be going to middle school?" This is a 5th grader, growing up. And I've taught 6th grade science in Frederick County for 17 years. And so I have a good idea what these 6th graders or these 5th graders coming to me feel like about going to middle school. They're excited because it's a milestone. They're excited because they get lockers. They're excited because they change classes. And they're excited because they get freedom. And even though they're excited, they each have times that they're uncertain.
Sir?
Will I have classes with my friends? I'm almost done. Will I get lost in the building? How much homework will I have? And those are the type of responses I expected from this little boy. But that's not what he said to me. In fact, what he told me was like getting punched in the stomach. He said, "I'm afraid to go to Ayler." I said, "Why?" "I'm afraid for my health." I felt ashamed and I was sad that I have a 9-year-old boy talking to me about being afraid to go to school for his health. So I understand you delayed the discussion at this point about Ayler Middle School. But I ask that you seriously and truly do consider what needs to be done. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Name, magisterial district, limit your comments to 3 minutes or less, please, sir.
Yes, sir. Good evening. My name is Keith Howard. I'm a resident of Opequon District, and I've lived in Frederick County for 28 years. I've also taught at Ayler Middle School for 28 years. And I just wanted to bring up a few things. During the time that if you haven't visited Ayler, I urge you to do so. I know some of you have been here. I understand you have some concerns about the cost of replacing or renovating, but I would like to assure you that dealing with Ayler Middle School needs to be one of your top priorities as a board, in my opinion. When you do, or if you do visit Ayler, please don't just roam the halls and look in a few classrooms. Go in the boys and girls PE locker rooms and the restrooms. Tour the kitchen and the dish room. Make sure to visit the science labs and accompanying storage facilities. I think if you look in these areas, you'll find that they're not only lagging behind all other schools in the county, but in some cases are in major disrepair. There are hazards about some of the door locks that I'd prefer to speak with you, not in front of a public group. Interior ones, though. Well, I'll just tell you, there are doors that are side doors and back doors, not straight off the hallway, that are impossible to lock, quite honestly. There are science labs that have sinks that don't drain. Classes lack sufficient electrical outlets to keep pace with technology, and our facilities are woefully behind the times. I've been there 28 years, and I've frankly watched Ayler fall apart. I've watched it be pushed down the capital improvement plan when there were no funds available. I've also watched the children begin to feel like second-class citizens when children are sent to a school in the condition that Ayler is in, while others in the county function and are much better equipped at a higher level. It changes the attitudes of the students. They feel disenfranchised. They feel like what they're doing doesn't matter. It's hard to achieve a winning attitude when the building you spend your time in is second rate. I've seen the morale of the student body and the staff crumble along with the building. So I respectfully urge you gentlemen and ladies to consider whatever tax rate adjustments need to be made to make that a priority and fully fund replacing Ayler Middle School. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Joy Kirk. I'm a resident of the Back Creek District. I'm a certified teacher. I'm certified to teach pre-K through 8th grade. I'm the president of the Frederick County Education Association, and I have taught in Frederick County Public Schools for 23 years. I have taught in Ayler, Armel, and Admiral Byrd. I thought I knew what I was going to talk about tonight. I was going to talk about social and emotional concerns. But instead, I want to tell you about my day. My day started off by sending an email to Mr. Justin Raymond at Apple Pie Ridge Elementary School and asking him if I could spend time in his building so I could observe pre-K and kindergarten. Because while I am certified to teach those subjects, I have yet to experience it other than a substitute fresh out of college. All I can tell you is if you have not visited a pre-K or kindergarten classroom, it is amazing, invigorating, and life-changing. I wish we could bottle the enthusiasm for learning that I saw this morning and inject it in students across the country. Those children were ready to learn. They were eager to learn. They were telling me their letters. They were telling me their numbers. When I went into the kindergarten classroom, I saw students writing 2 complete sentences. And you might think, yeah, these are 5-year-olds. They weren't perfectly spelling every word, but it was pajama day, and they were writing about their pajamas. Thank you for making those things happen in our county and for allowing our students that success. My afternoon was spent at Frederick County Middle School. I've been in the school many times for professional development and meetings, but I'd never seen it with children. What a difference. Having the opportunity to engage with students and ask them, what works for you in this environment? What do you like about your school? And then to go and sit with teachers who were having lunch, still discussing, collaborating, and what they were going to be working on. But taking the time out to tell me, you know what, this is what's working for us here. This is why this is an effective learning environment. I'd seen it, I could picture it in my head, but actually taking the time to go there and interact and learn from those who are experiencing it was a wonderful opportunity. And I encourage you to have those conversations with the students and the educators who are in that environment. Because until today, I knew in theory what should be happening in pre-K, and in theory what should be happening in full-day kindergarten, and in theory what should be happening at Frederick County Middle School. And I am proud to say as an educator here, it is happening and great things are going on. And I wish we could all celebrate what we do see succeeding and continue to make positive changes for our students. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Ainsley Rucker. I am a resident of the Opequon District. I attend Sharando High School. I'm a junior there, and I love school. I love learning. I'm a member of multiple clubs, but I'm also a member of the advisory committee, which communicates directly with our principal to help improve the student body and the school itself. The other day, I learned that our school resource officer, which is supposed to be there to protect us, isn't actually able to stay at the school all day. And frankly, that shocks me that it's even a possibility for an official to not be able to stay at the school all day to protect us. In response to the Parkland shooting, I was terrified to know that it could possibly happen at our school, and there might not even be someone there to protect us. A few months ago, when school first started, I was talking to a freshman. I asked them what they were excited about, what they were scared of. They told me they were afraid of being hurt in school. And the possibility of someone who wakes up in the morning being scared to go to high school, thinking that they could be hurt, it hurts me, knowing that it's a possibility. I've never had these fears, but knowing that they're out there terrifies me. Having friends who feel this way and knowing there are other students who feel this way is very important, and I think funds should be increased to the sheriff's office so that the resource officer can stay at our school all day. Even if it's not the same one all day, we need to have someone there all day just to know we have someone there protecting us if we need it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Thanks.
Good evening. My name is Daryl Bell, and I must apologize. I don't know which part of the county that I live in. I live in Bill Ewing's old house in Stevens City, so. Opeckin, thank you. Bob knows me. The reason I want to talk with you, I've emailed each and every one of you. I've gotten a response from 2 of you about the proposed ALR budget and about the new school. One thing that I hope that you're taking into consideration, along with all of the concerns that the citizens have shared with you this evening, is the possibility of growth that exists for our area. The fact that Frederick County is one of the fastest growing counties in the state. Amazon is going to be relocating in Northern Virginia. People that work there will be looking for places to live. The FBI is going to be developing new facilities in this area. There are going to be people that are going to come out here and live. And my point being is that they're going to look for places that have really positive and strong schools. They're going to be looking for places that have positive and strong services. So with the current school, the way it's in, the shape it's in, they're not going to be necessarily looking at this area. I completely understand people's concerns with taxes, but the more people you attract to an area, the fewer taxes you wind up having to pay because it's spread out over a larger group of people. Businesses come in. So I'm imploring you to think of that and to take that into consideration when you're looking at this particular issue of the new school. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Daryl.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Board. My name is Walter Ouzts, O-U-Z-T-S. And I just wanted to say I'm not very familiar with the workshop format, so I don't know if you can even answer this question right now, but if that's going to be open to the public or not. I know it's going to be rather informal, so hopefully an exchange of ideas can take place. I would urge you to schedule it when you're looking at scheduling outside of, I guess, what are called normal business hours, so that more working folks, parents, adults could attend. So please keep that in mind for scheduling purposes. Secondly, I understand return on investment. I'm big on return on investment myself, without getting too hyperbolic here. The biggest investment we can make is in our children's education. Part of that is the facility that they are educated in. It's curriculum, it's teachers. We want all that to be fantastic, but we also need a safe and secure and healthy, part of safe is healthy, environment in which to learn, to absorb information, for kids to get that fantastic education which some of the citizens said they're getting. We want that to continue, and part of that, as I said, is a healthy environment. ALR is decrepit, from what I understand, and it needs to be replaced. So whatever may come out of the workshop, whatever may come out of future Board of Supervisors meetings, I urge you to fund replacing that school. And of course, within reason, but let's make a pledge to replace Ayler. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All of our work sessions are open to the public. Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Mara. I'm an Ayler parent of an 8th grader currently, a rising 6th grader, and my youngest, sorry, I'm so nervous, will attend in 2024. I'm also a PTOSO board member, and I've spent a lot of time in the building. I know Ayler has been on the list for, I don't know if I heard correctly, 15 to 17 years for improvements, and I'm really hoping that this time you guys consider. I'm beyond grateful for the Ayler staff who does their best with the old building. They show up each day. There's a strong mildew smell. The dark, outdated paneling, broken towels, and broken locks on the classroom doors. My daughter was at Ayler last year when they believed there was an intruder and got to see how they tried to block the doors that didn't lock with furniture. And it was terrifying for her. So I'm hoping that there's something that can even be done in the meantime just to help those door locks so that teachers can lock the doors if there was a real intruder. I'm thankful my child doesn't have breathing issues, just headaches sometimes from being in the school with the CO2 levels. And also, I was just at a bingo event there on Saturday, and I was in a room full of parents who were laughing about how the condition of our school is the worst in the county by far, as their daughter washed their hands in the cold water. That's the only water that's available in the sinks, and you turn it on with one hand and wash your hand, and just very outdated bathrooms and other areas in the school. I just feel like it's so many years past overdue to do something, and I just hope that this is the time where one of my children, the last one, could see it done. Especially the safety aspect is the most important to me, because I'm thankful I have healthy children right now. Please don't pass this up this time, and please do something for our community. And one of my kids is here to speak with her friend, too. That is a current student.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone? Oh, ladies, thank you. Hold the microphone down. There you go. Good.
Okay. My name is Jessica. And my name is Sophia. We are 8th grade students at Robert E. Ayler Middle School. We are here on behalf of Robert E. Ayler Student Council. We are here representing a school that cannot provide students with the appropriate needs. Ayler isn't given the attention that it deserves. When kids go to school for 7 hours a day, they should feel safe and not have to worry about whether the classroom's CO2 levels are too high. Instead, they should be worried about their grades. The solution to the CO2 levels just made concentration harder for students and teachers. All students in Frederick County should have equal opportunities, a safe working environment, and pride in their school. Please don't overlook Ayler again. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Well done.
Speak again, sir?
Not until everyone else has had an opportunity, but I'll come back to you, Sean. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
My name's Dana Newcomb. I live in the Gainsborough district. Back during one of your joint sessions with the school board, the question was asked about the life of a building, whether it was 20 years or 30 years. And that got me to thinking about the high school that I graduated from, which we moved into when I was a junior in high school. Now, I won't get into how old I am, but a number of years back, I went to our 50th reunion. As part of that, we attended a football game at that high school, which is still in operation and is still in first-class condition. Now, when we moved into that high school my junior year, we left another building, which was about 50 years old at the time, which they converted into a middle school, which is still being used at this time. I'll let you do the math. I'm concerned about the maintenance stories that we're hearing about these buildings. Yet we have a school board that is asking for millions and millions of dollars to build new buildings. And then they just turn the old ones back like a child turns back a used toy saying, well, you know, this one's no good anymore. I don't want it. Give me a new one. I'm wondering where the periodic and routine maintenance is on these buildings that is the responsibility not only of the school board, but of the people sitting at this dais. Because this is property that the citizens have turned over to you and that you are responsible for, as is the school board and the school administration. Now, in the 31 years that I spent in the service, I commanded units a number of times, and one of the responsibilities of a unit commander was responsibility for all of the equipment that he was issued to make sure that it was combat ready when they went, or if they had to go and use it for real. And if it wasn't, people were relieved of their duty. Now, we don't use that term in the civilian world, I understand. The term we use is fired. And I think it's time that this board had some serious discussions with the school board about what they're doing with the millions and millions of dollars, more than 50% of the budget that you're giving them every year. Because if it isn't going into the maintenance of these buildings, someone is incompetent and they need to be fired.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Anyone? All right. Mr. Carver.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me to go again. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, I'll be brief. Mr. Newcomb stated virtually what I wanted to say as well. Where are the millions of dollars that are allocated to school maintenance going? If, as has been brought forth tonight by a teacher at Ayler, that the school is in that bad of disrepair, where has that money went? A second thing that was brought up was safety, school safety. It would appear that many in our school administration are of the liberal descent, and that is their preference. My concern is we can keep our students safe a lot cheaper and a lot easier than maybe what we have considered. Some localities are changing their schools from not being a gun-free zone, but to allowing their teachers to have concealed carry. I think it would be a very wise thing for us to explore to provide training to our teachers and possibly arm a few of them. So heaven forbid, if that school resource officer is not able to be present for the entire day, that there is still someone there to protect our students. We have a very reasonable sheriff, and I believe that he would be able to work with our school administration, should they be so inclined, to come up with a plan that is beneficial to all involved. One other thing that I would like to bring to light, and I don't know if this is true or if this is simply something that I've been told, but if it is true, then I think that we also, as Mr. Newcomb said, we need to be looking at some people and saying, you're fired. What I have been told is that there is use of the school internet to push out suggestions or support that are beneficial to the school board, or asking parents or teachers to come speak on behalf of things that are school board related. If, in fact, the public internet that is being paid for by public dollars is being used to support a political agenda, it is wrong. And if that is happening, as it has been told to me that it is, by a teacher, then again, those individuals participating in that need to be fired. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else like to comment on any subject? Anyone? And we'll close the public comment period. We certainly thank you for your participation. Board, comments?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
To all of you, I know that Ms. Trout goes to Ayler every day, or at least 5 days a week. I know that Mr. Wells went and spoke to some people there within the last week. The reason I know that is because I came in after him to speak. So I think we're all trying to see what Ayler's like. We're cognizant of the comments made. We're looking for solutions. So just recognize that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am.
I would just like to thank Ms. Rucker for speaking this evening and sharing I can see you over there, Ainsley. Hi. And sharing your concerns about school safety, as that is a concern of mine that we discussed previously in terms of the sheriff's budget and the number of school resource officers. And I just want to take time to thank all of the citizens that came to speak with us tonight and share your opinions and your views. I really appreciate your time.
Anyone else? Anyone? Vice Chairman Lofton.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, aye? Aye. We'll stand adjourned.